Hello, Imperial Assault players. This is your guest host, Joey G, welcoming you back to IA Command, coming at you with another tier list. This time, we're going to be doing it tier 2. Now, I realize on the last video, I made a grievous mistake. I didn't exactly explain what the tiers represent. You could say it would just fall under something that you would think would be good or bad, but no. S tier is items that you want, that you really should buy. If you're not buying them, it's a detriment to your team if you do not buy the S tier items. A tier items are all items that are a solid pickup. You cannot go wrong with them, and if you spend your money on them, you can feel good about it and have a good time. B tier are things that might need a little more work to get going, but they have certain cases where they're just absolutely amazing, and other cases where they just fall flat. C, you can have some good things. You might need them for a certain campaign or against a certain opponent, but for the most part, they're not going to be worth it. And D tier is what I consider you to be throwing away credits. If you buy anything from the D tier, it's not good. Anyway, we'll be going in the same order as last time, starting from the core, going from release dates, and then finishing up with just overall thoughts. So, to start us off, we have the DH, or no, not the DH, it is the 434 Death Hammer. Now, that sounds like a pretty cool thing. It is a blaster pistol. It uses a blue-red dice pool. It has 1 auto damage while shooting. It surges for 2 accuracy. It surges for 1 damage. It has 1 attachment slot, and it is 600 credits. The Death Hammer is not a bad gun at all. We're going to put it in the B tier, though. There are a lot of good ranged weapons that can fall into the A tier, so Death Hammer, it is good, but it's not as good as some of the things we will be seeing later. However, if you're Jin and you really need a pistol and you somehow didn't pick up the DL44, the blaster pistol from the last tier, then the Death Hammer is a very good pickup. Next we have... No, not the Laminate Armor. Oh no. Sorry, trying this in-window thing new for once. Anyway, next up we have the A280. This is a ranged weapon. It rolls blue-green. It has 1 auto accuracy. It surges for +2, surges for pierce 2, and has 2 attachment slots for 600 credits. This is an A tier gun. 2 very solid surges for damage, 2 attachment slots, and a not terrible pool of blue-green. It is very consistent. It will punch through a whole bunch of targets, and you can mod it out. You can get it to do extra damage, you can get it to do extra surges from like the tac display and some of the other items we've got coming up. It is a very solid pickup. You can't go wrong with it. 600 credits. Very good pickup. It is definitely better than the Death Hammer if you have some attachments, and it has a higher base accuracy. Its base accuracy, minimum accuracy you can shoot with it is 4, where the Death Hammer is 2. So that is also a very nice bonus to it. After the Death Hammer, we have our first melee weapon, the BD1 Vibro Axe. This is a weapon that rolls red-green. It has reach. It surges for +1 in bleed, and it surges for cleave 2. It has 2 attachment slots, and it is 600 credits. This is an A tier weapon. Honestly, I can't really decide which one I think is more valuable. They're both very good for what they do. The best attachment for the BD1 Vibro Axe is the extended haft from tier 1, which gives all of its attacks auto pierce 1, and I mentioned earlier how auto pierce 1 is fantastic. Overall, this is a solid weapon that you can really mod out to give it almost tier 3 levels of damage. Solid pickup, A tier. Grab it if you can. Next, we have the combat coat. It's the same one as the tier 1 combat coat, just now it's in tier 2. Costs the same abilities, +2 health, and while defending you may convert 1 or more evade results to block results. This goes in the C tier. It's too expensive for what it does. Occasionally you can get it work. Say if you have Vinto with his personal reward, it can be really good, but otherwise for what it does, it is just too expensive. Straight into the C tier for that. Next up, extra ammunition. This is an accessory, one of the 3 possible ones you can have. It has the ability of exhaust this card while attacking with a ranged weapon to reroll 1 attack die. This used to be in the A tier for me because rerolls are great. However, several items have been released that give you rerolls for cheaper, like the Combat Vambrance from the last tier, or another one coming up in this tier that's just a little bit better. So it's a good pickup, but it's not as good as it used to be because of new items that have come out. So this will go into the B tier. It's not a bad pickup, but there are better things to spend your credits on. High Impact Guard. This is a melee modification. It has the following ability: exhaust this card while defending to apply +1 block to the defense results. So you get to see what the attack is rolling before you apply it. It also has the ability, or it gives you a surge if you attach it on a melee weapon. That gives it a surge for +2 damage, which is actually kind of large. None of the tier 2 melee weapons have surge for +2. This gives surge for +2 to any of those weapons if you attach it. It also can go on the tier 1 weapons. You know how I mentioned the gaffy stick in the tier 1 items? Well, you combine the gaffy stick with this item and you will be a happy camper. This costs 500 credits. It is expensive, but it goes well on basically every melee weapon. This is an S tier upgrade. If you can grab it, definitely pick it up. It improves your defense, it improves your offense, can go on any melee weapon. Certified banger. S tier for the High Impact Guard. Next, we have the Laminate Armor. This is an armor piece. It gives you +3 health as opposed to the combat coat's +2. And you can exhaust this while defending to apply +1 to your defense results. So kind of like the Impact Guard, you get to see what the rolls are, then you can choose to apply this. This is very good. However, it is 700 credits, making it very prohibitively expensive. It's going to go in the C tier. It goes above the combat coat, but not by much. The combat coat and the Laminate Armor, they're just incredibly expensive. The Laminate Armor is definitely better than the combat coat. But honestly, the best defense is a good offense, and killing things before they can shoot you is the better way to go. So, C tier for our sad Laminate Armor. Next, we have the Overcharger. The Overcharger is an attachment to... Is it ranged? Yes. An attachment to ranged weapons. You deplete this card when you declare an attack. You remove 1 die from the target's defense pool. It costs 300 credits. This is a big waste of money. You get to remove 1 die from 1 defense for 300 credits. Any other ranged attachment is going to be better, and at this point you should probably have more of those, or just aiming to buy more of these. This is a waste of credits. It's never worth it to just remove 1 die. It is too expensive. Maybe if it were 150 it wouldn't be terrible, or if you've been lacking attachments from other tiers, but honestly this is a big stinker. Do not get it. Next up, Slicing Tools. This is an accessory, one of your 3 possibles. You can exhaust this card while performing a wrench check to reroll 1 die. It also has a special action. Choose an adjacent droid and test wrench. If you pass, that figure suffers 1 damage and becomes stunned. This card, kind of like the environmental gear from the previous tier, it helps you with your checks. This one is nice in that there's a lot of mission effects that require a wrench check. The secondary ability is awful. And at 250 credits, this is really not that good. You might be able to put it in C, but I just don't think it's great. I'm going to put it in the D tier, probably above the Overcharger, but not by much. It's a reroll on a wrench check, effectively, because the special action is absolutely not worth it. There are no characters that have wrench checks in their kit at all, and so this one it's a big stinker. D tier, don't buy it, avoid it. You'll be happier that way. Next, we have the Spread Barrel. This is an attachment for a ranged weapon. Exhaust this card while attacking a target within 3 spaces. Apply +1 to the attack results. It costs 300 credits. This is a solid ranged attachment pickup. I'm going to put it in the A tier. Once again, this is while attacking, so you can see the results on the die, see that you need 1 more damage, or you're on your second attack and you want to add 1 more damage and you're close enough. Spread Barrel, solid pickup, goes into the A tier, probably on the lower end, but you can't go wrong with it. It's an exhaustible +1. It's definitely not as good as the tactical display. Surges are generally more valuable than damage, and so this is only going to go into the A tier. I believe that is the last we have from... Yes, that is the last we have from the... Nope, I lied. We have more from the core set. We have the T-21. This is a ranged attack weapon. It rolls green, green, yellow. Pretty solid pool. It surges for stun, it surges for pierce 2, and it surges for +3 accuracy. It has no attachment slots. It costs 900 credits. And this thing is bad. Do not pick it up. It is way too expensive for what it does. It does not surge for damage. It will never be able to surge for damage. It has no attachments. It has no room for growth. 900 credits, while the dice pool is nice, is not worth 900 credits. There are tier 3 weapons that do significantly better than this and aren't even 900 credits. This is a big stinker. Do not buy it. You are throwing money down a pit. D tier. That is the end of our weapon. Wait, no. I keep lying. Anyway, this is the Vibro Knucklers. Vibro Knucklers are next. They roll a green-yellow. They surge for Cleave 2. They surge for +2. And they surge for Pierce 2 and Bleed. This is not actually a terrible weapon for its cost. It costs the same as a tier 1. It's better than any of the other tier 1 melee items that weren't A or above in the last tier. It's not bad. It's cheap. If you really need to get a melee upgrade, this will be fine, but is it better than any of the A or S tier weapons from tier 1? No, it is not. We're going to put this in the B tier. It's not bad in a pinch. It's cheap, increases your damage output by a decent margin, but it's just going to go into the B tier. It's mid. B tier. Alright, finally, I will stop lying. And we are finally out of the core set. Next up, we have we have Twin Suns. Twin Shadows. Twin Shadows. This is a weapon from Twin Shadows. It is the EE3 carbine, or as I like to call it, the dolphin rifle, because, Anyway, stupid anecdote aside. It is a ranged weapon. It rolls green-green. It has +2 accuracy innately. It surges for +2. It surges for Pierce 1. And it has 2 attachment slots. It only costs 550 credits. This weapon goes into the A tier. It is one of the more solid guns you can pick up. It's nice and budget-friendly. Minimum accuracy of 4, just like the A280. Its second surge isn't quite as good as the second surge on the A280, but the green die is, in general, better than the blue die. So for me, it's 50 credits cheaper, and it has more consistency on its dice pool. It will eke out ahead of the A280 just by a little bit. It is a very solid pickup, can use basically any attachment to decent effect. So right into the A tier goes the EE3 carbine. Next up, we have the Plasma Cell. The Plasma Cell is a modification for ranged weapons. It gives whatever it is attached to Pierce 1 automatically. You don't have to surge for it, just straight up Pierce 1. And it gives you an extra surge for +1 damage. All of this for 450 credits. This is an S tier attachment. There's no beans about it. Auto Pierce 1 on every attack you get? Fantastic. Does not get better than that. I would almost push it up into its own tier because there's not a single gun that you wouldn't want to put it on. Gives you that extra surge +1, 450. That is more expensive than some guns, but Auto Pierce 1 on everything? fantastic. Pick this up if you get the opportunity. It's too good to pass up. Straight into the S tier, Plasma Cell is fantastic. So if you notice, from Twin Shadows, we get two really good items, the EE3 and the Plasma Cell. Very good. Next up, we are going into Hoth. This is an accessory. This is the cybernetic arm. It gives you -2 health for +1 endurance, and once this has been assigned to a hero, this item cannot be traded or sold. You must bring this item to each mission. This costs you 350 credits. You're chopping off your arm to get a robot arm. Pretty cool. Some heroes can use this much better than others. Overall, it's kind of a wash. If you're not at risk of being downed in most missions, sometimes you're just crushing through the Imperial, this is a good pickup. But it's just kind of a side grade. Some people that are really strain heavy might want it. Jin might want it. Drokata might want it. Biv doesn't exist. So this is going to go into the... Let's see if I can find it on the... Here it is. This is going to go into the B tier. It's not a bad pickup. It's not a good pickup. Some people use it well, and others it's completely unnecessary on. B tier pickup, above the Vibro Knucklers. Vibro Knucklers, not great. And I'd rather have the reroll from the B tier. So, into the B tier it goes. It's okay, but I would avoid it personally. Next, we have the Environmental Hazard Gear. This is a piece of armor. It has two abilities. When you perform a arrest, you recover 1 additional health, or 1 additional damage, and then it also has an ability to deplete this card to recover 5 damage, or remove all harmful conditions. This is for 600 credits. This is going to go... C tier should be clearly renamed into the Armor tier, because that's where this is going. The Environmental Hazard Gear is actually not bad. I used to think it was significantly worse until I realized that the deplete ability does not have a timing window. You can do it after an Imperial shoots you. You can do it in between during someone else's turn. It's not terrible. If you are a very squishy person, this could be a decent pickup to get that emergency health right back up. When you perform a rest, you recover an additional health isn't bad. It's a nice little bonus, but it's the deplete that you'll mostly use this card for if you do pick it up. Not terrible, not great, but again, it's a defensive tech, and I'm more about the offensive tech because murdering things prevents you from losing health. So, that's going to go into the C tier, above the combat coat, probably just below the Laminate Armor. Next, we have the Stun Baton. This is also from Hoth. This is a melee weapon. It attacks with a blue-red. It surges for stun. It surges for +2. And I just made myself a liar about High Impact Guard earlier. This does surge for +2. And it has a strain ability. 1 strain, choose an adjacent hostile figure. That figure becomes weakened. This costs 500 credits, and it has 1 attachment slot. It is... not a bad weapon. 500 credits, that's a little more than what you would get from a mission. It's better than all of the non-A and S tier weapons from the previous set, or from tier 1 set. And it's a fine pickup. No one particularly uses it incredibly well. The surge to weaken an adjacent target is okay. Mostly you'd use that on something like a Nexu, or maybe the Repulsor tank, because it can block those auto-evades, or maybe some Jet Troopers. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. Blue-red will not surge particularly well by itself. You'll want a decent attachment for it. It's fine. It's a fine pickup. You can't go wrong with it. There are better weapons. The BD1 is, in my opinion, better. It has a better dice pool. Surges +1 in bleed. Actually pretty good. Better than the +2 in my opinion. Anyway, moving on. We have the R5 Astromech. When you deploy your hero, place the R5 Astromech companion in your space. The R5 Astromech activates at the start or end of your activation. It is 250 credits. The R5 Astromech, I don't have a picture for you, but what it does, it has a speed of 3. If it's underneath someone, it cannot be attacked or damaged. And what it does, it has a special action to dive into a crate, and you get to pull out a... It's not an equipment. An item card from the item deck. So it can be useful. You can pull some goodies. You could pull a frag grenade, pull some... Yeah, just pull some meds out of it. It's not bad, and at only 250 credits, it's not that big of a drain on your resources. If you have someone like Kotun loves this. You get to draw even more cards out and really pick what you want. If you have Kotun, I'd probably put this in the low A tier, maybe top of B tier. It really depends on how much value you think you can get from the item deck, and it's okay. You want to pick up all of the items because they could give you more credits. They could give you an item that's really good for the particular mission. But items in general are just okay. We're going to put this at the end of B tier. For 250 credits, it's not a bad pickup. Better things to spend your stuff on, but it's also not terrible. And this is from the Bespin Gambit, which I forgot to mention. We're now in the Bespin Gambit. R5 is from the Bespin Gambit. It's an okay pickup. Not great, not terrible. Next, we have the Weighted Head. This is also from Bespin Gambit. This is a melee modification. It has the ability exhaust this card while attacking. The attack gains Cleave 1. It also gives you a surge for Cleave 1 and a surge for Cleave 1. Weighted Head is just... There's so many good melee modifications that it's really hard to put this any higher than a B. It's an exhaust for 1 damage on an adjacent target, and it gives you extra surges to cleave onto not the primary target. It's okay. It's not good. It's also 400 credits, which is more expensive than anything in Tier 1 that we had. And those Tier 1 attachments are going to be better. The Extended Haft, the High Impact Guard, and the Balanced Hilt, all of them are significantly better than this, and they're also cheaper. Well, not the High Impact Guard, but the High Impact Guard is just better. This is going to go into the low B tier. It's not... If you pick it up on someone like Shyla, who can cleave out of their mind and reposition enemy heroes, or enemy units, or if you have Diala, who wants to throw some people, it's not a terrible pickup, but it's just fine. B tier. Alright, we are done with the Bespin Gambit. Now we come to Jabba's Realm. Jabba's Realm gives us a ranged attachment. This is exhaust this card when you declare an attack. Replace 1 die in your attack pool with 1 die of your choice. This is 250 credits. This is actually a decent upgrade. We are going to put this into the A tier. Is it better than the Spread Barrel? No, it's not better than the Spread Barrel. It is nice. It is very flexible. If you need extra range, you can swap something to a blue die. If you want extra damage and you have plenty of range, you can swap to a red die. And for 250 credits, it's a solid pickup. But it is when you declare the attack, so you have to see it. You don't get to re-roll anything. It's not bad. It's not good. It is better than some of the B attachments from Tier 1, like the accuracy ones or the underbarrel, but this is... It's a solid pickup. You can't go wrong with it if you know your dice pools. If you know which dice are better for which things and which situations, this will be a decent pickup. Still in Jabba's Realm, we have a melee weapon from there. This is the Double Vibro Sword. It has a green-red attack pool. It surges for Cleave 2, it surges for Pierce 1, and it has a Strain ability, which is 1 strain. After you resolve an attack with this weapon, each adjacent hostile figure suffers 1 damage. It has 1 attachment slot. Now, I'm going to put this straight into the bottom of D tier because its attack pool is green-red, which goes against every convention this game has done previously. All the dice pools have all followed the same convention except for this black sheep, and I will not stand for it, straight into the D tier. But on a serious note, no, it's actually very good. We're going to put it into the top of B tier. I don't think it's quite as good as the BD1 Vibro Axe because it doesn't use attachments quite as well. The surges are really not that good, and it's even more expensive. It's 650 credits. However, there are some heroes who make use of the Surge to do extra damage fantastically well. Shyla is the top of that list because Shyla's not incredibly strain heavy, and she can reposition more people to get more use out of that extra damage. She can also do a third attack, which makes it so you can use that ability 3 times, so that's pretty good. So it's good. It's good for some people. It could also be useful on someone like Jared, because he's not super strain heavy as well. Garkan is fairly strain heavy. He probably wouldn't want to use this as much. This would also be a not terrible pickup for Onar. But overall, it's not as good as the Vibro Axe. It's not as good as the Punch. Nothing's as good as the Punch. That is one caveat. You know how I mentioned the Punch Dagger from the previous tier and S++ tier? It's better than all these tier 2 weapons. And that is without any doubt in my mind. But we're going to put the double Vibro Sword into the top of B tier. It's a good pickup for some people and just an okay pickup for others. All right, we have one more. One more from Jabba's Realm, and this is just the melee version of Bolt upgrade. This is the Energized Hilt. It is an attachment to melee weapons. It has the same ability as the Bolt upgrade. Exhaust this card when you declare an attack. Replace 1 die in your attack pool with 1 attack die of your choice. Once again, this is really good if you know your dice pools. However, most of the melee weapons already have pretty good dice pools for what they want to do. So we are going to put it in the A tier because it's not bad, especially at 250 credits. 250 credits, it's pretty good to spend on. But being able to change dice for ranged weapons is significantly better than changing dice for melee weapons because the melee weapons generally already have better dice pools. Yeah, so we'll put it, actually, with that reason, I'm going to put it in the top of B. It's not bad, it's not good, but for 250 credits, you can't go wrong picking it up. This is surprisingly not that good on the Punch Dagger, because the Punch Dagger already has the dice pool that it really, really wants. So, yeah, we're going to put this in B tier. Definitely higher than the Weighted Head, because the Weighted Head is more expensive and is just meh. But yeah, top of B tier for Energized Hilt. Next up, we have the Focusing Beam, and these are going to be items from Heart of the Empire. Focusing Beam from Heart of the Empire. This is a melee attachment. It is a modification sights, which how you use a sight on a melee weapon, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll ignore that. It has 2 abilities. The first one, exhaust this card while attacking to apply Pierce 1 to the attack results, and it has a strain ability, which is exhaust this card while attacking to apply -1 dodge to the defense results. This is a very good pickup. If your Imperial player has extra dice rolling around, or heck, just the Pierce 1, it's a good pickup. It's only 250 credits. This is going to go into the top of A tier as a melee attachment. It gives you Pierce 1 on an attack you might need. It gives you a chance to go past a total block, which I'm sure all of you out there who would be listening to this know that having your big attacks be total blocked is the worst. So, being able to negate that is a fantastic ability. This will go into the top of A tier. It might be better than the High Impact Guard. Really, it depends on which weapons you have. It is half the cost of High Impact Guard. Can't go wrong with it, but I still think the High Impact Guard just edges out by just a skosh, but it will go into the top of A. This is an amazing pickup, and you cannot go wrong with it. Next, we have the Hunter's Rifle. This is a green. It automatically has +2 accuracy. It surges for +1 damage. It surges for Pierce 2. And while attacking with this weapon, if the target is defeated, gain 1 damage token. It has 1 attachment slot. Now, the weapon you will compare this most to will be the EE3 carbine. The EE3 carbine Has the same dice pool, same innate accuracy, but you swap the pierce and the damage surges, which makes it significantly better, and it costs 50 credits less. While the E3 exists, I can't put the hunting rifle into the A tier because it's not as good as the other two ranged weapons who are already in the A tier. We're going to put this into the B tier. B tier is getting pretty big. Again, they're not bad pickups in the B tier, but there are significantly better items in the A tier. Let's see, how are these placements? Yeah, no, I like these placements. All right. Afterwards, we have the polearm, which is a melee weapon. It has reach, it rolls red. It has Surge for Pierce 1 and Surge for Cleave 2. It is 650 credits and only has one attachment slot. This is a fantastic weapon. If you can pair it with the extended haft from tier 1, you get auto pierce 1 on all of your attacks. Red auto pierce 1, you will be slaying things like no one's business. It's 50 credits more expensive than the BD1, but the red is a better dice pool, and they both have cleave 2. Honestly, you probably won't be expecting to cleave on this because reds are not very cleave happy. It's definitely better than the BD1. It is a very solid pickup. You cannot go wrong with it. Many people can use it very effectively. There's not a single melee person who this would not be effective on. Highest melee weapon. Now, and I just want to point out, there's 4 weapons we have here in the A tier. They are not, the ranged weapons are not necessarily higher than the melee weapons. The melee weapons aren't higher than the ranged weapons. It just depends on who is using them and where that is. I think I have them correctly in relationship to each other, so that I do think the E3 is better than the A280. I do think that the polearm is better than the BD1 Vibro Axe, but they can swap the places 2 and 2 either side. It just depends on if you want melee or if you want ranged. Polearm, good pickup. Pick it up if you can. If you are looking for an upgraded melee weapon, can't go wrong with it. Pick it up. And yeah, that will be all of our items from Heart of the Empire. Next, we have items that come from Return to Lothal, or is it Tyrants? It's Tyrants of Lothal. Tyrants of Lothal, we have the ranged weapon. This is the E11D. It attacks with a red-yellow. It has automatic 4 accuracy. It surges for +2 damage. It has a strain ability, which is 2 strain, used during your activation to gain 2 damage tokens. It has 2 attachment slots. This is a very solid, if expensive, weapon. The red-yellow is a good pool, and with the surge for +2, the yellow is nice to have, and red is always nice to have. Because of how expensive it is, all 3 of these weapons are good. If I am going to arrange them by order of cost, because being able to save credits is fantastic, and they all more or less kind of do the same thing. They all have 2 attachment slots. They can all surge for +2 damage. And then after that, it's just kind of the flavor. They all have minimum 4 accuracy. They're all good, but I do think I have to order them by cost. Doesn't really matter which attachments you have. They're all good with the same attachments for the most part. The E11D might be the best one to use the bolt upgrade with, because you would want to change the yellow generally for a green, because it's just significantly more consistent. Could use the bolt upgrade on the A280 to get a green or a red-green. But I do think the E11D, solid pickup. All 5 of these weapons are good pickups. You cannot go wrong with them. But in this case, I do think I have to order them by efficiency credit-wise, because they all basically do the same thing. If you're not strain heavy, the E11D might be a little bit higher. So say if you're Fen, who has good strain recovery, Mach, not quite so much, maybe some on Loku. Vinto could use this decently. These are all decent weapons, and we're going to leave them in the order they are in. Next, we have the Mandalorian Helmet. This is an equipment slot, so one of your 3. It gives you +1 health. It has an ability 1 strain. Exhaust this card while attacking or performing an attribute test to reroll one of your dice. Limit 1 helmet per character as it is a helmet. It'd be silly to wear multiple helmets. This isn't Team Fortress 2. No multiple hats, only 1 hat. This is definitely better than the extra ammunition. It's not as good as the combat Vambrance, 1 tier lower. But this does allow you to reroll attribute checks, unlike the combat Vambrance. This is going to go into the low A tier. It is a very solid pickup. It is significantly better than any of the equipments that let you reroll an attribute check. Yes, it's 1 strain, but it allows you to reroll an attack or an attribute check, so it is significantly more versatile, and at 1 health for 250 credits, can't go wrong. Solid pickup in the Mandalorian Helmet, which we are seeing that currently every item from Tyrants of Lothal is amazing. If you can only get 1 expansion as a Rebel-focused player, Tyrants of Lothal is an amazing pickup. The heroes are great, Imperial class deck is great, all the items are great, campaign's fun, Tyrants of Lothal, good expansion. Now, that is the last of the box expansions. We have 1 item from one of the blister packs. This is Gredos Gun. This is the DT-12 Heavy Blaster Pistol. This is a green attack. It surges for +1. It surges for 2 accuracy, pierce 1, and it has a 2 strain ability. Use when an attack targeting you resolves to interrupt to perform an attack with this weapon targeting the attacker. This is not a good gun. It's useful if you're able to get off multiple attacks, kind of like how the DDC Defender from the previous tier, if you're able to use multiple attacks, it's not bad. But this is so incredibly strain heavy to be nigh on very bad to use. It only surges for +1 in either case, +1 or pierce 1, when other guns in the same tier for less or the same cost are able to surge for better, with better dice pools. It is really not a good pickup. I would almost put it in the D tier, but being able to attack again does have its uses, but the Imperial player does need to attack you in order for that to actually go through. Here we are at the end of our tier list. I'm going to reorder some of the things, just seeing where things have fallen. I'm going to put the Vibro Knucklers down into the C tier. Really, you should be spending your credits on something that'll last you a little bit longer, other than this barely tier 1 upgrade. Honestly, don't really pick them up. I think everything in the A tier is pretty good. You might be able to swap the high impact guard and the focusing beam, or put the focusing beam in S tier, but I don't think it's quite as good as the high impact guard. The high impact guard, its favorite weapon is the gaffy stick. If you can put the high impact weapon on the gaffy stick, red, yellow, auto pierce 1, surge for 2. Amazing combo with the gaffy stick, and that's only 700 credits. Focusing beam can go on anything. Same with the high impact guard. Plasma cell. If you're not buying the plasma cell, you are doing something wrong. Plasma cell is amazing. Auto pierce 1 on every attack you're doing. Juicy. Pick up the plasma cell. Everything else here, I will stand by where it's placed. Actually, we're going to move the Mandalorian Helmet above those 2 attachments, because at this point you might actually be running out of attachment slots. But here is the tier list. If you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, if you want to debate something, if you want to argue that something's better on someone than something else's, please go ahead and we can debate in the comments. Coming up, I would plan on doing the tier 3 set list, hopefully here in the near future. And after that, we'll see. If there's another video you'd like to hear if there's another set of things you'd like to hear my thoughts on, that'd be fantastic. I'd love to do more content. Maybe the item deck, the random item deck, those are always fun. Or anything you want to hear my opinions on. I love talking about Imperial Assault, and yeah, no. So here's tier 2. And if you have any questions, yeah, leave a comment like I mentioned. And stay frosty, and may RNG be ever in your favor. All right, I will talk to you, gentlemen and ladies, later.